Hi guys. So today we spent the day in Palo Alto, and for those of you who might not recognize Palo Alto, you probably recognize Silicon Valley, and that's where Palo Alto is. It also happens to be the home of Stanford University, and it used to be the home of Steve Jobs. And in fact, the first school we saw today was only a few blocks away from Steve Jobs' house. That first school that we saw was called the Castilleja School, and it's an all-girls school. It has about 448 students, and what's really interesting about this school is they're very traditional in some ways. Their classes look a lot like the classes at SAS with academic rigor at the core, but they also do a lot of innovative things. And one of the innovative things that they do is they have a Fab Lab. Now, what's a Fab Lab, you ask? It's a great question. The Fab Lab is a space that is both artist space and engineer space. And so it's a place where students come to be creative. They come to create, in fact. They come to make. What are they making? Well, they may come in to make things that they're intrigued, about, and they just want to make because of an individual project they're working on for themselves. And that might happen during open lab time. But they also go in there with classes where teachers have assigned a project that will involve making some sort of 3D model. And an example of this is, for example, I think it was the 7th graders, it might have been 6th graders, were learning microscope skills. And instead of actually working on one microscope and kind of learning the skills and being tested on that, the kids had to actually make microscopes, make 3D microscopes on the 3D printer. Pretty cool. Another project kids created in the Fab Lab was a trebuchet. Now, a trebuchet is one of those catapults from the Middle Ages. And what the kids did in the Fab Lab, though, is they created a 3D trebuchet, and that means that it's something that you can hold. It's something that really will work. And remember, they're building these on 3D printers, and then they created Angry Birds out of also on the 3D printer. So they make these Angry Birds and they launch them in a competition. And so this was also related to work they were doing in their core classes. And their designs had to be based on Da Vinci's original sketches. So this was an opportunity to combine history, to combine science, to combine math, all in this really cool integrated project that also actually integrated pop culture with the inclusion of Angry Birds. Wouldn't it be cool to have a Fab Lab at SAS? So beyond the Fab Lab at Castilleja, the other really amazing concept I came away with was the idea that we should not be calling service learning, but instead we should be calling it leadership development, because it is your opportunity to develop your own leadership skills, which will apply not only out in the field as you're working on your various projects to help your community, but these skills that you develop in this work apply to the boardroom and even the family room. So the leadership skills you develop span a lifetime. They are invaluable. And so another way to be thinking about service learning in the future is to be thinking of it as an opportunity for you to hone your skills at leadership. Next stop was Stanford University, and we went right to the D School. D stands for design. When you hear it's a design school, you might be fooled into thinking that this has something to do with fashion or architecture, but in fact, it has to do with everything. Design is everywhere you look, from the phone in your hand to the chair you're sitting on to the floor under your feet. Design has been implemented. What kind of thinking goes into that design? That's what the D School's all about. It's about design thinking, and they train students from all disciplines. So in fact, to attend the D School, the requirement is that you're enrolled in school at Stanford. You're not going to earn a degree from the D School. You're going to earn a degree from another department. For example, you might get a degree in electrical engineering. You might get a degree in psychology. You might get a degree in art. But the D School allows you to take the discipline that you know so well and think about it through a new perspective, and that is design thinking. Now, I still have a lot to learn about design thinking, and I'm really excited about the research to come. I have a lot more to read about and to learn and to dabble in. But what I can tell you right now is a great place to start with design thinking is to think about any project that you might create. And I want you to create it for somebody else. You're not creating it for yourself. So if you're creating it for somebody else, what kind of research do you need to do before you actually create that project? You need to have empathy for the user, for the person who will be at the receiving end of whatever project you're creating. One important aspect of design thinking is actually interviewing the users, interviewing the people who will be impacted, who will actually use your product. So guess what? All of that work we've been doing in RLA on learning how to question people, learning how to interview, learning how to have conversations with people and ask follow-up questions, that all actually is at the heart of design thinking. So you've been doing it without even realizing it. So one of the examples of design thinking that I saw in action today, I stopped to talk with 3 Stanford students who were working together on a project. And part of design thinking is collaboration. You have to work on a team, preferably an interdisciplinary team with people with different strengths. So today I spoke with a team of 3 students. One was an electrical engineer, one was a mechanical engineer, and one was a musician. And together they were trying to develop a solution to the post office problem. Now, the U.S. Post Office has lost a lot of money. It's really struggling. And so the problem that has been put forth to this design team is, how do we solve the post office problem? How do we help make them more successful as a business? And so these kids, we sat, well, I mean, they're not really kids, they're in their 20s, and they're graduate students, but we had a chance to chat with them briefly, and they pitched their idea to us. So their idea was a really fascinating one. They thought that they were projecting into the future, 50 years into the future, and they shared with us what that would look like 50 years from now. They thought that perhaps mail would no longer include paper because paper would be obsolete. But we would still have to mail products to one another. We would still need to get our shoes. We would still need to receive food. Whatever it might be, we'll still need products. So maybe mail in the future will all be 3-dimensional, and you could develop boxes that are waterproof, that need a thumb scan to open, that have airbags on the inside that deflate when you open the box, and this would help protect whatever item is being shipped. And robots would ship these items. Now, they had a much longer explanation of what their plan was, but they described their kind of boxes that would be recyclable as almost like big Lego blocks that could be stacked up out in front of your house, and that's how they would be delivered. So this was projecting into the future, 50 years into the future, for solving the post office problem. Of course, the post office probably needs a more immediate solution, but it was really interesting to have a conversation with these guys. And design thinking, you need to free up your imagination and consider all the possibilities. The last place we visited today was the Stanford University Online High School. We met with the principal, and the principal told us all about her program, how students can be full-time with Stanford Online High School, or they may be part-time, or they may just dabble. They may take one course alone, or they're now offering courses called X courses as well. And the X courses, I'm imagining the X is kind of like extension. These are courses that aren't as intensive and don't have the same kind of support necessarily that being a member of their student body has. With being part-time or full-time, but they're great opportunities for you to expand your learning. So if there's an area that you're really intrigued by, let's say, for example, you really are intrigued by art history, you might be able to find a really cool class at Stanford Online High School. We met with Stanford Online High School because we wanted to see what online learning really looked like. We wanted to see what the future might hold. So tomorrow, I'm sad to say, we see our last school. We're going to the Nueva School, also here in the Bay Area. And the Nueva School is known for its Fab Lab. It's known for design thinking. So I cannot wait to see what this looks like in a middle and high school. So tomorrow I'll be reporting back, and I can't wait to see you guys. Actually, when you're watching this, I might even be in the room with you. See ya! Bye-bye!